The Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada now brings you FilipiNARS, news and features about the Filipino-American nursing community and beyond. And now, here's your host, Doris Bauer.
Well, hello, FilipiNARS listeners and followers. I hope you are all doing well. I'm so glad that you can join us today and tune in into the program. And as you all know, FilipiNARS is brought to you by the PNANV, or the Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada, in collaboration with PHLV Radio. So thank you for joining us today. Well, January is the month for raising awareness for human trafficking. Human trafficking is a grave issue involving the illegal trade of individuals for purposes as reproductive slavery, correctional or commercial sexual exploitation, and forced labor. It is also regarded as the modern form of slavery. This crime encompasses the recruitment, the transportation, the harboring, or the receipt of persons through coercion, fraud, deception, abuse of power, or exploitation of vulnerability. Exploitation may include prostitution, forced labor, servitude, like slavery-like practices, or even organ trafficking. It also could involve domestic violence. So this is the topic of our program for today. And so we invited the chairwoman of a not-for-profit organization that bridges the multi-ethnic, multilingual, and multi-generational Asian Pacific American community by developing collaborations and building awareness of the issues that the APA women confront in their lives, their families, and their communities. And this includes dealing with domestic violence and human trafficking. So please welcome from Bamboo Bridges, Ms. Minddie Lloyd.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, Doris. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much for coming to our program today. And Mindy brought with her someone who will get to know a little bit later, but she is Precious.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Welcome, Precious. Okay, very good. Yeah. So, Ms. Mindy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Not that the community doesn't know you already.
My name is Minddie Lloyd, and I've been in the community of Las Vegas for over 30 years, and grandmother of 5 beautiful daughters, and just very involved in our community, doing whatever we can just to help with people.
Yeah, and weren't you used to be a councilwoman or an assembly person, or?
I worked for as a judicial executive for a judge.
Okay.
And so, yeah, one of the greatest judges in town.
Yes, and can we mention your ex-husband?
And I became a widow of Lieutenant Eric Lloyd, who worked with Metro for 30 years. Served the community very, very well, and not only was a hero to me and my family, but to our community.
Yes, yes, and we love Eric Lloyd, and who we sadly lost in COVID.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, welcome. So, can you tell us about your organization, Bamboo Bridges? What is your mission, and what services do you provide?
So, Bamboo Bridges, you've pretty much explained what, not a lot of our resources that we cover, mm-hmm. but how it was started was as an Asian woman, there was a group of us that we are just trying to find what the stereotype is between all of us in this group. Mm-hmm. And amazingly, our friendships, we were just openly talking about what, as an Asian woman, we are confronted with.
Yeah.
And one of those issues was always about a sex topic. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. growing mm-hmm. up, and as you know, in the Philippines, that our country always had like the ports of call of our military.
Right.
And a lot of our women, and even it goes back into, you know, the days during the war, that women were having to be forced into sexual relations, and sometimes being raped, mm-hmm. you know, mm-hmm. and that's how sometimes men perceived us.
Yes,
and
yes.
And that's not what we're about.
Correct.
Filipino women, you know, we're very educated. We come from very good household of strength of education, very, very, very strict religious backgrounds,
Right,
and just raising our kids with great family values, you know, work ethics. And oddly, during our conversations, we were talking about that. We were talking about what happens in Vegas, and we had learned that a lot of the women that were coming to our country, that were being forced to work in the massage parlors, you know, having to pay back their debtors, you know, wherever, what country they came from.
Right.
And that's what started it.
That's great.
Yeah.
You're talking Asians in general, right? Not only Filipinos, but also
We're
other
talking
Asian
about
races,
different
right?
races, Russian women, we're
Yes.
talking about Hispanic women, all race, all color, you know, black women. And so we were very, very grateful that, you know, my friends and these women that have come together to save and become a resource in other people's lives, and that we were
great.
able to help them. But a lot of our resources are from human trafficking, domestic violence. One of the big things that we're working on right now is an Asian hate crime case, and a Filipino family that they're just amazing. So when we talk about victims, they're not victims. They're, you know, victors and survivors.
And survivors.
And
right.
And they have the courage. And what you're going to hear from today is from Precy, Precious, her story, and how Bamboo Bridges was able to be there for her.
Very good.
So-
Very good. So, providing for resources for human trafficking is one of the services that you provide, like you said. So since January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, can you give us your own definition of human trafficking?
Trafficking are those that are being coerced into a situation, whether it's through sex, manual labor, commercial labor, situations to where there is debt involved,
Right.
and that you are being coerced in a situation that you cannot get yourself out of.
Get yourself out of, right? So there are different types of of human trafficking, which includes sex trafficking, forced labor, child labor, what else? Commercial sexual exploitation of children, and actually even domestic violence, you know, comes into play there, because you're basically getting the same reactions and getting the same treatment like all these other classifications, right?
Right.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so what are the signs of human trafficking that we need to watch for?
You know what's funny is that this topic is so huge. You know, we talk about statistics and we can't get to the pinpoint of that number. But we know 40 million globally, right?
Right,
We're
right,
talking
right.
about US-wide or maybe internationally. And that topic alone, it silences people. It silences you because you don't know how to act. But it's such a huge number, but that number, like I said, that quiets people, right? And when it comes to children, especially in Las Vegas, in Clark County, the city of Las Vegas, our law enforcement is so dedicated to helping our community, our children, families, and what to look for. Sheriff Kevin McMahill, our governor, you know, they're always trying to find a way to just alert our children, the men and women that are just there. You see the slogan, if you see something, say something.
Say something,
You know, and you know, we try to enforce that into our families. If there's something wrong, there's something wrong.
Right.
You know, you as a nurse, you pick that up right away, right?
Yeah.
And when we talk about commercial trafficking, especially under 18, right? You can generally, for myself, if I can see maybe an older person that's with a younger person, you kind of just go, is that a mom and dad, or is that something else?
Right,
You can tell.
Right. You can tell.
You
So
can tell.
these are some of the signs that you can actually watch for, right?
Right.
Being very observant, like somebody who is being monitored by another person, huge age gaps, that sort of thing, right?
And being submissive, you know.
Right.
You see that a lot. You know, we've had a lot of Filipina. I can express to you a lot of our Filipina stories and victims that we have helped, and women that have come here from our country that are in their younger years because they are here with an elderly gentleman, and that when they become tourists of our own country, they go there because they know what they're looking for.
Right.
But then they'll bring him here in the guise of, oh, you know what, I'm going to give you a better life and I'm going to marry you.
Right.
But really, sometimes that's not the case. You know, and we're going to talk about Precy later.
Right.
But we've had a story before with the help of our Consul General from Louisiana, and she was 20. And he was in his 50s.
Wow.
But was basically selling her for $75 per person to
my
all his
gosh.
friends. And, you know, and that wasn't the life she asked for. But the problem with that situation is because when you're married, there's a different law now. You know what I mean? There's family law
Right.
that gets involved.
That gets involved.
The courts.
Right, and so at this point, I think we're going to introduce Precy here, Precious. So, Mindy, can you do the honors?
Yeah, so what we want to actually disclaim on, you're going to see a picture of Precy on your TV screen right now, and that we just want to tell you it is very graphic, and that this topic is something that is near and dear to all of us, and that this situations happen. So when you look at this picture, this is what had happened to Precy. Precy?
Precy's going to tell her story. So go ahead, Precy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It happened in 2018, just like a week after my birthday. And there's actually a little bit of the trafficking as well. Inside my household, something was going on with one of my daughters. She's not blood related to me, so she's like the daughter of my ex-husband. She was sexually manipulated by the father of my ex-husband. That's how I found out about it, and that was the main reason why all this happened. When that happened, and my ex-husband found about it, because that's his own blood, own daughter. So I was the one. He vented all his anger towards me.
Oh.
When he found out about his own daughter was molested by his father. So I absorbed everything. When I found out about it, I considered her as my own daughter as well. I raised her for 8 years. I consider that it hurts me also because I'm a woman and I don't want anything bad happen to my children. All of them.
Right.
No exemption. I treated her as my own daughter.
Right.
When that I found out, I had to stand for her, right? But I was not in the position to tell. I was just a guardian. I was not the parent. It took me a long time to speak up the truth to I don't know how to say it to him, to my then ex-husband. When I gathered the strength to tell him, I had to do it. I had to do it for her sake.
Right.
She's a minor. She's only 16 years old that time.
Wow.
So I have to, being a woman, I have to do what's right. I have to. I told my ex-husband to report the culprit. The criminal. He has to be reported, but he said no. I cannot do that. Instead, his anger was like, how do you call that, Ms.
Directed
Mindy?
to you?
Yes. So for a month, he was like, he's bottled up. His anger, of course, that's his own blood.
Right.
He doesn't know how to express it in a good way. And maybe I was not also being helpful. I should have helped him, mental health. But but anyway, long story short, he had that bottled anger, and he vented on me. One Monday evening, he's an alcoholic, so he was drunk. We had an argument. I tried to avoid the argument, but he's still, very mad. When I came back, I actually fired 11 shots, guns, inside my home with the 2 minors living in my home. I was not there. When I came back, I just saw the bullets all over the floor. And as a mama bear, knowing that your children were there, and he fired 11 shots of guns. So what would you say? What would you react?
I'd be scared to death.
Yeah, so I was like, I went there, I said, why did you do that? And then all of a sudden, maybe he was caught on surprise. I caught him by surprise. He had a beer bottle in his hand, and he smashed it on my face. And that's
what that picture.
That's what that picture is all
Luckily,
about.
I survived. It was like 1 millimeter away from
the
my
other
tear
picture.
duct.
So, okay, this is very disturbing. So how were you able to get out of this situation, and how long did it take you?
Well, it took a while. I don't know what. I was like blank, and I don't know. I was numb. I don't know where to start.
It was another
Yeah.
Filipina in the community that had reached out to Bamboo, and that's how we got hold of
Yes.
Precy that night.
Yes.
And most of the times, Bamboo Bridges, we will intervene with the help of law enforcement. We don't go in there and just rescue you,
Sure.
because a lot of the times our victims, they're very
They're
afraid.
scared. Yeah.
You
I was
know,
scared.
Very scared.
I was scared, and I don't know how to deal with it. I would be embarrassed because what's happened. This is my family.
Sure, sure.
And then a week, I didn't want to go out in public with my face. I was invited that time with by Michelle, who is our common friend. There was a big party, an annual party, and I was invited. But seeing my face like this, I said, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go. But I said, why should I? I didn't do nothing wrong. I am
But
just.
you could see how her face,
I
the
can
Oh yeah, right here.
Yeah.
And this one, this was the major one actually. And so when I was hit, there's actually a one like ano yun, bubog, the bottle.
Oh,
A piece of glass.
Yeah, piece of
Because
glass.
it's a beer bottle.
Yeah.
It actually like literally splashed, broke in my face.
Wow.
And there's a bubog, a piece of glass that was stuck in here.
Almost to your eye?
Yeah, it's 1 millimeter away from my tear duct.
Yeah.
And I pulled it out, and the blood squirted.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
I know it's graphic, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we really appreciate that you're able to talk about this, and so now you are considered a survivor,
Survivor, yes,
because you have reached out to Minddie and her group.
it was like maybe 5 days later. 5 days later.
No, that night. It was that night.
Was it?
They reached out that night, but you can't force somebody
okay.
to get help.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
You can,
They called you that night?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't even
because
know that.
most of the times it's your friends that are going to call anonymously
Anonymously,
and
right.
and ask for help, and then then you fight for your kids. Then there's there's an adrenaline that says, I got to get my kids out of here, and that was her main concern. It's her kids.
I have 3 girls.
You have 3
I have
girls.
3 girls.
Yeah.
With your ex-husband.
No, with him only 1. But I
Okay.
have to.
But you had to get them in with you, because they
Yes,
they
yes,
were probably
minor.
scared too,
They
right?
were, yeah, and
All of them.
Wow.
yeah. So
So there has to be a great execution plan for safety for them.
Correct.
And that's the point. And Bamboo Bridges is not just like, we're going to come rescue you out of your house, because Metro or any law enforcement agency, depending on the vicinity, that they will do the police reporting. The reporting is the most important.
yeah.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah.
And then there's the arrest that will happen. You have to tell them, hey, this is what's going to happen in the next 72 hours. Your life will change. Her life has changed, and the scar might be gone right now, but that scar is in their
It's
heart.
right.
I am proud of my scar.
Yeah.
I am proud of it, That means that I survived. So good thing that I went to that party. That's when I met her 5 days just 5 days after that incident happened. And then Michelle told me, I think, Precy, you need help from Miss Minddie. That's the day we met.
So you're out of that situation now. He's no longer living with you, correct?
You know what? A matter of fact,
That's part two of another story.
That's another story.
actually, I forgave him. I still forgave. I was still able to forgive him after that incident. We got back together. 4 years later, then I filed a divorce 2 years ago.
Okay. So you got the kids with you. Is
the
that
kids.
resolved already?
Yes, quite. Right now, we're just the battle with the house.
Okay.
Yeah, with the property. That's it. But now I'm totally like over with that. I'm in the process, still in the process of healing, and believe it or not, my how do you call it, Miss Minddie? My coping mechanism, I draw my strength from my woodworking and gardening and giving back to the community. Which me and
She's a
Miss-
carpenter, by the way.
I'm a carpenter.
So,
Lady
yeah, one of
carpenter.
the rarest Filipino women who's a carpenter. And
A lot of people are asking me, how did you end up being a carpenter? Why woodworking? And then, well, I have a very good answer to that. I said, well, Jesus told me to follow him. So I literally followed Jesus. So.
Well, honestly, you are so brave, and thank you for bringing her in
Yes.
here, because we have for this podcast, in preparation for making people aware of what's going on in the community. I've tried to reach out to several human trafficking organizations and groups, and no response, because I know that they are protective also, and I do understand that
It's a
of
sensitive
the
matter.
victims, and it's a very, very sensitive matter. But for Precy Precious to be coming in here and be front and center, we really applaud you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you can also interject, because I have some questions for Minddie as well. So who do you think are the most vulnerable people for human trafficking?
I think everyone is vulnerable to that. It reminds me of our farm workers. You know, people who work in the farm and that are working there just to work and earn a living. And we have men and women that are being forced in a labor situation, and we have farm workers that are being raped there, and because most of them are undocumented, they are vulnerable to where they will say yes because there is a threat to that end of that
situation.
situation. And I get emotional about it because we talk about it all the time, and how do we help these people, and it's really hard because it's happening, and
and
it is happening, and you just don't know. We have elderly abuse that's associated with situations that people don't even want to talk about, and those are the things that are very hurtful, because you as a nurse, you see it.
We see it, but a lot of times you have to actually step back and say, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And as a nurse, you are obligated to report, what you see out there that is wrong with regards to abuse and things like that. So, but sometimes it takes a lot of courage. And with the regular people who are not obligated to do reporting, I know a lot of them take a step back and say, especially in our culture, that says, ay naku, kawawa naman yan, ano nang gagawin natin? And then you can't really, or they won't do anything about it. So it's difficult, right?
It's difficult, and we have a lot of our caregivers that in their hearts, they're just doing the right thing to take care of patients, but because of that situation, that they too are in a position that they are not documented to work here in the States, they are being exploited, pay their rights, and where do they turn to?
Right.
You know, and even the resources that we have, sometimes they're in the delayed response for them. And I'm just being honest.
Right.
Because there are so many people in here that just do everything to help and that will do anything to help. But when your hands are tied and that nobody will act just for one person, I find that disheartening, because we really all can and do a little bit better.
A little bit better. Yeah, we can.
Especially for our youth. They are the most vulnerable. And when, I can tell you this, I've seen many young girls that they come from a working family of one.
Mm-hmm.
They are sharing genes just among the sisters.
Mm-hmm.
They're missing school because, you know, they don't have the outfit to go and socialize appropriately to school. But when you see those jeans that other girls are wearing, you will do anything to get those nice pair of jeans.
Of course.
Even though that you don't know that you're doing the wrong thing.
Right,
but
right.
when somebody has their ears to you,
Mm-hmm,
that will say, I know how you can earn that jeans, then you're on that path.
And then they go onto that path. So
Yeah.
somebody is giving them an alternative to
Of how to
become
make
better,
money.
Yeah.
of how to make money.
Yeah.
So these are the most vulnerable people. Now, I read an article that's saying that, like you said, undocumented or people of color maybe, and even the LGBTQ people are
Yeah.
vulnerable to human trafficking, right?
I think all humans.
All humans are.
I think all humans. Just the situation is so bad, you know. How to raise awareness, you know, there's so much more that we can do just
Right.
for preventive. You
I
know,
think we need to do more action. Awareness
Yeah.
is there, but we need the action.
Yes, yeah.
We need to take action.
We do need to take action, and this is the my hats off to Bamboo Bridges for the services that they
They
do
helped me,
provide.
yeah.
So they helped you quite a bit. And are there any specific profiles to who these traffickers are, or
could be anyone.
could be anyone,
Could
right?
be anyone.
Could be anyone.
You know,
that's
it's just
right.
somebody that you would never think, right?
And sometimes it's a family member.
Just like
Oh my
Right.
gosh, that
Yes.
just like what happened. Yeah.
It does happen. So there is no really particular profile for it. They can be of any race, of any nationality, of any gender. Most of, like you alluded to the romantic story of taking people from our country and bringing them here. So when you hear stories like that, that could be an alert to you saying something
with
else
her,
is going
with
on,
her,
right?
with her, you know, sometimes we're numb to it because we see it, right?
Right.
But with her, the unexplainable injuries that you see, there was more to that picture that you see down below. That is not just, I had a very pissed off day. That is accumulated settings that was happening in that home. And she got the blunt end of it. Whether it was to silence her, and what she didn't talk about was that he was military. So there's a lot more incidents that was happening there. So when we talk about, like for our youth, look for unexplainable injuries. You know,
Correct,
for the
right.
elderly, it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Right,
Or
right.
for just anyone. I mean,
Let's say if they're living in I have a little note here that says people who are probably living in an unstable living situation, they have run away or are involved in some kind of a juvenile justice system and the welfare situation, undocumented immigrants, people who are facing economic poverty.
yeah. The police will tell you there are that they brand, the traffickers will brand their victims.
Like brand like a
Like they'll brand it, you know what I mean?
wow.
They will brand them like you're mine, you're my property.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a
I
tattoo.
think I fall,
Brand,
I
it's
fall
a
to the
branding.
same thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So submissive
Yeah.
behavior, you know what I mean? You're gonna leave here today going.
It's going to give me truly a whole new
Yeah.
perspective of doing
think
an
I fall-
assessment for a patient.
I fall to the same
Yeah.
category also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fall to the same category.
You fall on the same category. Okay.
Because there was control.
Yeah.
There's a control, manipulation.
Uh-huh.
That's why that actually brought me to finally file the divorce 4 years later after the incident. Because there was manipulation there. Not only the physical thing. He said, "This is my house, and you don't even have a job. You're under me. You cannot do
guilt
anything."
tripping.
Yes.
Yes, and then sometimes, a lot of the times they hold their passports so that they can't go
Wow.
anywhere. You know what I mean? Like a lot of our Filipinas in our situation, they just want to go back to our country, but they don't have the documentation. And luckily we have many partnership, and that's the best thing about our task force is that we have created partnerships with our consulate generals, people of our contacts to help us to that where we can get the families safe
Right,
back
right.
to where they need to go.
Where they need to
The
go.
bad thing about this is we know that this is happening, but everything has been silenced. We don't know who are the victims.
So many.
They are scared.
Yeah, they're scared,
Yeah.
and a change needs to come from the victims too. So
That's why we're here.
That's why
we're here.
statistics are never right
It's not
because
accurate.
of underreporting.
it's underreporting. But so let's talk about labor trafficking. I know that's going on here as well in Las Vegas, correct? So labor trafficking. What would you consider labor trafficking?
Domestic housework, working in the farms.
People who are being forced by their employers to work.
People that
Yeah.
are working and not getting paid, and they're just working constantly. So our labor department, our state labor department, they're very good about nipping things in the bud like that and helping.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that task force later. And what about our sexual trafficking situation here? I know that this is very common here in Las Vegas, also in Reno, by the way, up in the north side. So what can you say about that?
Well, with Nevada, because we're 24-hour state. You know what I mean? We're drinking, we're gambling, we're drugs. I mean, we are like a channel of going through another state. What can I say about that? I think our law enforcement agencies they're doing an amazing job,
Right.
just getting everybody on the strip, and the sheriff has, committed. Like I tell you, his commitment to just breaking down and getting all of our traffickers out there. They know them, our gangs. I mean, the sheriff is just on his ball with that.
Yeah. I haven't gotten an audience with him yet, so
Oh, we'll have to get him in
we'll
here.
have to get him in here.
Because his
Yes.
statistics is probably broader than all of us.
Yeah. So speaking of statistics, in the articles that you read, they say that Nevada is the number one state in human trafficking. Is that correct?
I am not. I think it's just so bad everywhere.
It's bad.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are like the transition state, and then that they'll move them along. I've seen, and I've dealt with an incident where the victim, she went from one state to another. I mean, it's just moving. They were moving them.
Wow.
So that statistic, I know it's happening.
Yeah.
Because of how easy
it is,
Yes.
right? So I read an article with the statistics that said the number one actually is Nevada and the number two is Mississippi. So I really honestly don't know how, like you said, statistics are never accurate, but we see it a lot here, and this is why we're trying to raise more awareness of this situation that's going on. So like Minddie said, if you see something, say something. Yeah. And I think that what our takeaway should be, right? Yeah. Right. So how can the public help with human trafficking? Can you give us some ways of how they can help?
Reporting is very important. even if it's a false alarm, it's just nice to know that you're going to be able to help a neighbor or a friend, or just, you know, somebody that you could have helped and make a difference in their life. Just say something, and just call 911 if something doesn't fit right, doesn't seem right. And it's the slogan, and Metro can't say it more better. If you see something, just say something.
We practice also in our all MGM properties, because I work in ARIA. All of our 13 hotels, we are being, disseminate the information about human trafficking is being, what to call it, released to all employees.
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
we
You can
will
actually
do.
see them even in the airport bathrooms.
Oh, yeah, they're
even
everywhere.
So we
they're
will-
everywhere. I mean, they're in English and they're in Tagalog.
Yes,
Actually,
Tagalog,
you can
yeah.
even see this
In different languages.
in different languages, right? So,
We're not asking you going up and
correct.
rescuing them. It's
Say
reporting is
something, yeah.
plenty enough, and that number that is there, just call.
Yes, yes. Actually, I'm going to tell you that later. The Nevada Trafficking Hotline is 888-373-7888. We can do that. But how about, there is a task force by our Attorney General, Aaron Ford, okay, regarding human trafficking, which, they're actually following the federal guidelines as well, right? And he's pretty active with that. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
That task force is actually, it's been set in place since 2006, and it's very strong. Many leadership in there, and they all know what they're doing. Everybody has a job, and a lot of people that are in that group is ICE. You know, a lot of our head divisions from all of our law enforcement agencies, everybody from different nonprofit, governmental groups that can help, resources that really, really help with situations from domestic violence to rape crisis to human trafficking. I mean, everybody is in that panel.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And if you go to their website, actually, they list a lot of resources that are available out there for either the regular person to call or even for the victims. And it's a lot. They even have like a, what do you call this? Like a how-to, what
Right.
to do. I can't
Like, you're
remember
not
the-
going to call the sheriff
Yeah.
because I didn't get paid yesterday.
Right.
That is our labor department. You know what I mean? So
Correct.
there is a guideline of what to do, but if you're being harmed, 911 is your best call.
your best
and the nurses, our doctors, they're trained. They're trained to look for these
And
identifiers that we're
teachers.
talking about, and it just goes from there.
Yeah. So to know more about the task force, you know, you can go ahead online and actually look. There's a boatload of information out there. And like I said earlier, the number for the Nevada Trafficking Hotline is 888-373-7888. So keep that in mind, put it in your fridge or something, or on your phone. Anyway, again, you've already told us how Bamboo Bridges has helped, you know, people here with regards to human trafficking, and we do appreciate
thank you.
and your organization for doing this. So,
Thank you.
my last question to you guys is, what is your message to the public? Let's start with you, Precy.
Well, to everyone who is, you know, in struggling, there's always help. Don't be afraid, don't be scared, because there's always help. Our community here in Las Vegas is phenomenal. We have seen it, you know, Vegas Strong. We are here. You can help and report whatever you've seen, you know, sex trafficking, children trafficking, everything. There is something wrong. You can call 911, or with regards to domestic violence, also Bamboo Bridge there are actually a lot of, you know, organizations, and one of them is the Bamboo Bridges, and they can help. we can help you guys.
Very good, very good. Thank you for coming, actually.
Yeah.
I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And Minddie, what is your message to the public?
Gosh, we talked about so many things, but there's some things that we didn't talk about. But
Okay.
you know, it's those red flags. The red flags that hits you and just goes, makes you think and wonder. You know what? Call that hotline. That hotline will really save yourself, or it's going to save somebody else. So.
Very good. So, well, again, thank you very much, Ms. Minddie Lloyd and Precy over here for joining us today. Thank you for the information on human trafficking and Bamboo Bridges. So if you believe that you are a victim of human trafficking or may have information about a potential trafficking situation, you can call 911 or you can call the Nevada Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888. And to our listeners and our followers, we leave you with this. National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, which is observed in January, serves as a crucial time to raise awareness, to support survivors, and unite the communities in combating this human trafficking crime or situation. This crime exploits individuals, damages the communities, undermines the rule of law, and it poses a threat to national security. And governments have been urged to lead in developing the strong anti-trafficking measures, which we are lucky here in our community that they are. So over the years, efforts have focused on holding traffickers accountable, building partnerships with foreign governments, and to prevent trafficking, protecting the survivors, and prosecute the offenders, and engaging survivor leaders in shaping anti-trafficking strategies. So looking forward on 2021, the fight against human trafficking requires continued collaboration to eliminate this crime globally and ensure that all individuals can live with dignity and freedom. Together, a future free of human trafficking is achievable. So thank you very much for joining us today. Please be safe and be well. Until the next time, this is Doris Bauer, your FilipiNARS host, signing off for now.
The Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada has just brought you FilipiNARS, news and features about the Filipino American nursing community and beyond.